folks. Happy Halloween. So I'm gonna do a little review on my top 12 favorite VHS horror movies. So without further ado, let's check out what we got. Number 10 or 12, Tales from the Quad Dead Zone. Now this is a bootleg version. So, because the real tape would cost you like $5,000 or some shit. The director only made, I don't know, a couple hundred copies, maybe 1,000, not very many. He made them himself. They distributed the tape themselves. So there's very few, it's very rare tape. If you can find one of these, it'll make a great gift for me. So they started out with apparently had 4 different stories they was gonna put on here. That's why they put the name Quad Dead. But then one of the stories, which became Black Devil Doll from Hell, was long enough they figured they could make a whole other movie about it. So they used it to make a whole other movie. And they only had 3 stories on it. So it's basically telling the story of this woman and her kid had died, and the ghost of her kid's in the house there, and she's sitting there reading stories to the kid, and it's supposed to be kind of like Twilight Zone or something. It's real funny. These stories are supposed to be like scary or whatever, and like one of them shows these people that don't have enough to eat, so then they start killing each other and stuff. And then another one of the other stories shows about this man, he's jealous of his brother, and he either killed him or he just died, and he was gonna take his body down to the basement of his own house and bury him, and he was making fun of him and stuff. So his brother's ghost comes in there, and he has to deal with that, and that's pretty funny. And then the last one's about the woman herself, and with whenever she killed her husband or boyfriend or whatever, because he was pissed off because she was reading stories to the dead kid, and then the cops come and all this stuff. So if you hadn't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a hilarious movie. That brings us to number 11. This is called Spider Baby, and I seen Sid Haig at a horror convention in Nashville, and he's on this movie too. He's like, well, it shows his picture right there on the back. He's real young, and I was talking to him, and I asked him about playing on there with Lon Chaney Jr. because, you know, he's one of the main dudes, you know. So he was telling me that this movie was the last movie that Lon Chaney Jr. was in. I really like Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance on it. It's about a family of these 2 girls and this boy, and that's Sid Haig playing the boy. He's like got a mental all screwed up in the head, and they're all act like little kids, and apparently they got some kind of aging disease or something where they revert to like babies in the human brain, and then they keep reverting further back till they go like to some kind of primitive animal that kills people and stuff. A lot of stuff happens. I ain't gonna give you any spoilers because it's a real good movie. I highly recommend it. Spider Baby. So then, Bride of Reanimator. This is one, I like this one better than the original Reanimator. I think it's funnier probably. It's kind of like Bride of Frankenstein, you know. The dude that Jeffrey Combs' assistant is in love with her, you know, and she is played by Barbara Crampton on the first movie. She gets killed. So then on the second one, they trying to take her heart and put it in a symbol body that they kind of put together like a jigsaw puzzle, and it's real funny. It's got that fat dude, he's on Evil Speak. He always plays an asshole. He plays a cop on this movie, and I can't remember his name. It probably says on here, but this is real funny. I highly recommend Bride of Reanimator. And of course, no top 12 review would be complete without Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Now this is not the original tape. This was a re-release by Sub Rosa, something like that. You can see it right there. But it's really cool. It's got a VHS and a DVD. A friend of mine gave me this, Forrest Wright. Shout out to him. I appreciate that. I still ain't got that original VHS copy of it, and I'm gonna get it one day. It's about 200 bucks usually every time you see it. So if any fans out there have a copy of it that they want to sell me for a good, reasonable bargain, or hey, it would make a great Halloween gift. Just saying. But anyway, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers is a story of a cult that worships the chainsaw, and they got to kill all these people and stuff. And it's got some of the top scream queens, of course, Linnea Quigley and Michelle Bowers. Does Brink Stevens on here? I don't think so. They usually all play in movies together, but she's not on this one. I don't remember seeing her on it. But anyway, this is really cool. It's got, if I remember right, that's a dude from Texas Chainsaw Massacre that plays the cult leader on here, and it's just real funny. It's one of those, I guess it's Charles Band or something like that, or Fred Only Ray, I believe, put this out. Yeah, that's Fred Olin Ray. He put this thing out, and he put out a lot of funny movies with a lot of these same actors. This is probably my favorite one out of those that he put out, so I recommend Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Next top movie is TerraVision. It's got this alien that comes through the satellite. They got getting like a satellite TV installed in their house, and this alien comes in there and starts trying to kill everybody. And it's got this dude, his grandpa, this little kid, and he's got his grandpa that's like, gets these lizard tails and makes them into like beef jerky, and says you can sell it over and over because the lizard keeps growing a new tail. It's real funny. Highly recommend it. And it's got the dude from Napoleon Dynamite, plays the character Uncle Rico. You know, he has to do it if he has a time machine and all, with the football and all that crap. He's on it. He's like a metalhead teenager, so that's pretty funny to see him in that role. No, I haven't seen that guy in a whole lot of movies. But anyway, this movie's hilarious. Next on the list, Sleepaway Camp. So on this one, it's a story about this boy and girl going to summer camp. And the girl on there is real quiet, you know. Then there's some killer sneaking around killing everybody. Well, it's got a surprise ending that you won't expect. If you've never seen it before, I highly recommend Sleepaway Camp. And of course, known among some circles as the worst movie in the world, it's Troll 2. George Hardy's signature on this one, baby. He plays the dad, and I got him to sign it in Alabama. They were doing a screening over there at Birmingham, and I was able to get him to sign my tape. This movie was directed by some foreign director. I don't know the guy's name, but the movie, a lot of the reactions and stuff that the people have don't make any sense. It's very hilarious. It's got this little kid on it. He keeps seeing the ghost of his grandpa. They go to this town for like vacation, and the town's got all these, well, it's don't call it trolls, it calls it goblins. They just took the name and ripped it off because there was a movie that come out called Troll, and it uses the same font, and it looks just like write it exactly. Has no affiliation with it. They were just trying to get more people to buy it because of that. It's basically a real crappy movie that is hilarious. And if you ain't never seen it, you gotta watch Troll 2. I can watch that movie over and over, and I have. That brings us to this. Children shouldn't play with dead things. It was one of the first horror movies I ever seen as a kid. And back then, it kind of freaked me out. They shot it in Florida on some island out there, somewhere down close, way south Florida. And you know, they go out in this old cemetery, and then they go in this old house. It's a group of film students, I believe, or acting students or something, and this one guy hires them, Alan. They like dig up a corpse and do some kind of satanic ritual trying to bring the dead back to life, and all these zombies start coming up out of the grave. And it's kind of like Night of the Living Dead. They come out right after Night of the Living Dead. They're not super great actors or anything, so it makes it a lot more funny, you know, to watch it. If you can't tell by now, I like cheesy, low budget, crappy horror movies. I'm not really too concerned about a movie actually being scary. I mean, come on, dude. I mostly watch them for the comedy factor. But Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, one of my top favorite movies of all time. The Video Dead. If you hadn't seen that, highly recommend it. So this movie's about these two kids move into this house. Their parents are like away on vacation or something. They just bought the house, and the kids go over there to move in. They get this TV. So first, at the beginning, it shows this guy that's like a writer or something. He's staying at the house, and they deliver this TV to him. And he's like, I didn't order a TV, but they say, well, it's for you or something. He takes it anyway. So he opens it up. You can see these zombies on, no matter what channel you change it to, you see these zombies walking around. And it plays this weird music. So then the zombies wind up coming out of the TV, and they kill that dude. So then the kids move into the same house. And the TV, they find the TV in the attic, I believe. The boy does. And he's smoking some weed and stuff, and he tunes it in, and this girl comes on there and stuff. She's like gonna make out with him or something, like disappears or something. And then this old guy comes on there and he's like, I'm the garbage man. I take care of human garbage. And then he sees these zombies and stuff. So you really just gotta watch it. It's hard to explain all that happens. But I liked it so good that I made this sculpture of one of the main zombies. Little sculpture I made. I put it up, painted on the back, The Video Dead. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Now that brings us to one of my all-time favorite, Frankenhooker. I got the talking box here, but I took the batteries out. It actually works, but I took the batteries out because I didn't want them to explode in it. It's about this guy. He's like a hobby scientist. So he makes this remote control lawnmower. He's giving it to his girlfriend. It's on her birthday, so I guess he's giving it to her. And she takes the remote, you know, she's working, and he's like, hold on, you gotta slow down, you gotta slow down. The lawnmower winds up running over her, and it kills her. The body was like all over the place and all this stuff. So then he tries to take what few body parts he can find, which is basically like her head, I think is all he found. He tries to reassemble a body, and he's trying to figure out where to get the body parts. Takes this drill, he starts drilling it into the back of his head to help him eliminate stress enough where he can think of it. And he winds up, figures he can get these prostitutes that nobody would miss them if he killed them. And he tries to make this crack that if they smoke it, it'll kill them, and he can take the body parts and reassemble his girlfriend. And this movie, you know, to hear me say that, if you haven't ever seen it, you're probably thinking, man, this is gruesome. But I don't think it even shows a single drop of blood. It's pure comedy. There's one part where he's killing all these prostitutes, and they start exploding, and it looks more like a fireworks show than anything. But this movie is one of the funniest of all time, in my opinion. Frank Henenlotter, I believe is how you say his name, directed this thing. I remember watching some interview with him, and he was talking about when he came up with the idea for it. He went to pitch a movie, and they was like, nah, that's no good, you got anything else? And he really didn't have anything, but he just, on the spur of the moment, he had been seeing these prostitutes all over the place walking around on the way in. They were like in New York. It was in the 80s. It was having all this crack epidemic. So he just kind of took the idea of Frankenstein and put it together with that, and he come up with this on the spot. It become one of the cult classics of all time. Now this movie, between this movie and my #1 movie, was a hard decision. So I had to put this at #2, and I'll explain that later. But as far as entertainment value, I could probably watch this movie more than any other horror movie. And I probably have. And that's Return of the Living Dead. This movie is hilarious. Absolutely love it. You can see from back here with the Tar Man stuff. I got the mask over there. I liked it so well that I made this sculpture. I might as well show it off. I made a sculpture of one of the main characters is a Tar Man. It tells a story of this guy starts working at I guess you'd call it a mortuary. They got all these dead bodies and stuff in there. And they also sell like skeletons and stuff. And the name of the building says, "You need a body part," or something like that. So I'm not quite sure what the place is really supposed to be. They got some dead bodies in the basement that's in like some kind of containers, like military containers. And it looks like an oil drum. It's got like a glass thing, and you can see the face of this corpse. They go down there, he's like, "These things can't leak or something, can it?" He's like, "No, man, it's military grade." And he hits it, and this chemical sprays out everywhere, and they breathe it in. It's trioxin or something. That's what they call it. It gets all over the place. Well, basically, the chemical is what makes corpses reanimate. It goes into they try to burn the bodies. Anyway, I don't want to give the movie away if you hadn't seen it. If you hadn't seen it, I don't know how you haven't seen it by now. But if you haven't seen it, you got to watch it. I don't want to tell too much about what happens, or I'll give the whole movie away. It don't really matter. The story's not the main point of this movie. It's mainly comedy. It's got Linnea Quigley on there. It's one of the best horror movies of all time. And I remember when I was a kid seeing this box at the first video store I ever went to. I don't remember the name of it. Just a real small mom and pop video store, and I was probably about 6 or 7. And I saw this box, man. I saw that image. It scared the crap out of me. I was afraid to watch it. Later on, when I watched it, man, it was pure comedy. Nothing was scary about it. Now, this movie I call my #1 favorite, and I'll tell you why. Because it was the first horror movie that I ever watched. My cousin, George Holness, his dad had a mechanic shop. We was walking around out there playing around, and I seen an old glove laying on the ground and an old broken knife. So you know where I'm going with this. I stuck the knife through the glove. I don't know why I did it, like making a weapon or something, or a claw. Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I was saying, my cousin said, "Oh, you trying to be Freddy, huh?" I didn't even know who that was. I was like, "Who's that?" And he said, "Well, this is a movie, Nightmare on Elm Street. This guy, Freddy Krueger. He's got claws, you know, with knives on it and all this stuff." So I went up there to Southern Video and I rented it. And you know, it kind of freaked me out a little bit at certain parts, but I loved it. And I thought Freddy was the coolest. I wanted to be him. Now that's some psycho stuff, man. And the thing about it is, I wasn't the only one. They marketed the crap out of Freddy to kids. They sold all kind of toys and crap with Freddy Krueger on it. All the kids love Freddy. This is a weird thing. Played by Robert Englund. And on part 1, he don't really crack a lot of jokes. Later on, he starts being more like a comedian, playing into that. But part 1 is not really as funny. But it's got to be #1 because it's the first horror movie I ever watched, man. And if you hadn't seen it, I don't know how the heck you hadn't seen it by now. But it just tells the story of these teenagers. They're having these nightmares, and their parents had killed this guy that was like, they don't say it on the movie, but some people say, well, it was like molesting kids or something like that. So they kill this dude. He's coming back through the people that killed him's kids, their children, are having these nightmares, and it's somehow he's like a demon. He's become a demon after they killed him. and he's coming into their dreams and he's trying to kill them. And if he kills you in your dream, it kills you in real life. So I ain't gonna go too in depth because I figure everybody knows all about this movie by now. And if you don't, I don't see how. You must be like a little kid or something. If you hadn't seen it, definitely worth watching. All these movies would be great to watch since it's Halloween season. You want to have a Halloween party, you can sit around and watch some of these movies. Any one that I just named, I guarantee is a crowd pleaser. Everybody will like it. Now, I had one bonus movie that I had to throw in. It's called Hell Night. It's got Linda Blair. She plays, the kid Reagan or whatever on The Exorcist. That's her there on the cover. This movie's great. I saw this movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things were probably the first 3 horror movies I ever watched as a kid. And this one freaked me out, man. But it just tells the story of these teenagers going to stay in this haunted house like it's a bed or a dare. It's something that they do once a year for something in school or something, because like a dare that for seniors or something when they graduate or something. I don't quite remember exactly. It's been a while since I watched it. Anyway, the house is haunted and it's got this dude trying to kill everybody. It's, your basic haunted house story. Teenagers all getting killed and stuff like that. Definitely worth watching. All right, folks, that's my top 12 favorite horror movies on VHS. So I'm gonna get on out of here, and you guys go ahead and watch some of these movies if you hadn't seen them. It'd be great to watch at a Halloween party. So I'll see you next time.